So this morning, the IIO received information from the RCMP that they had been investigating a report of a carjacking that had happened several hours earlier. The vehicle involved in that matter was tracked to the ferry that was landing at Departure Bay approximately mid-morning this morning. The Nanaimo RCMP, together with assistance from the Island District Emergency Response Team, were present and planning to stop the vehicle as it exited the ferry. They did so, and at that time, our understanding at this point is that the driver exited the car and there was an interaction between the police and the driver. At that time, the male driver was shot and he was taken to hospital where he's subsequently been pronounced deceased.
Was the alleged
carjacking?
Yeah, so can you tell me about carjacking?
We don't have many details about the carjacking at this point. Carjacking is effectively a robbery of a motor vehicle, which obviously insinuates that some violence was involved in that matter, but we don't have details of that at this time.
Okay. Was this gentleman able to get off any shots himself before the police returned fire on him?
Yeah, we're looking at those details. At this point, we're not sure if there was an exchange of gunfire or not. That obviously is a very important part of our investigation.
You said that Nanaimo RCMP managed to track the vehicle down. From where did they track it? Where did the carjacking start?
Yeah, the carjacking occurred in another part of the province, obviously on the mainland. We're not exactly certain of the location at this point in time, but we know that that was some hours earlier than this incident.
And how did you find out about it?
Well, we find out about the incident once, of course, the shooting occurred. Then the police have an obligation to notify us, and that engages our jurisdiction.
So did you find out about the carjacking at the same instant as the shooting, or were you aware of that previously?
No, we wouldn't be aware of anything until the shooting occurs.
So take us through your steps. Obviously, your involvement here is to investigate potential police wrongdoing. So explain to the public who maybe aren't familiar with the IIO's responsibilities what your job is here now.
So our job is anytime there's an interaction between police and a member of the public that leads to serious injury or death, our mandate is to investigate those interactions. We do so whether or not there's any allegation of wrongdoing. Rather, we do it to determine what the facts are so that we can assure the public that an independent and objective investigation has been done into the circumstances behind any of those incidents.
So in this case, what types of questions will you be asking or looking into?
Well, we'll be looking into all the circumstances surrounding the interaction that led to the shots being fired. So we will assess what the police were doing, what the individual was doing, and we'll do that by speaking with witnesses. We're currently engaged in a forensic examination of the scene. We have about 10 people on the ground in Nanaimo right now. We'll be looking for video evidence and all of the things that we normally do, radio traffic, that type of thing, to determine what happened here so that we can tell the public what happened.
And talk a little bit about, we had witnesses describing some what appeared to be plainclothes, perhaps undercover officers. What types of police would have been on the ground? I mean, they mentioned Nanaimo RCMP and their emergency response team. How many officers were involved in this?
We're not exactly certain of the number of officers that were involved at this point in time. We also don't have information on the exact type of officers being used. But as you can appreciate, this was an incident that occurred in a relatively public area. We do know that some steps were taken with the staff on the ferry to ensure that this vehicle was one of the last getting off of the boat at the time before the takedown occurred.
And you mentioned video. How much security footage, or were there any angles involved around the terminals?
Well, it's very early for us at this point in time to give definitive answers on that. Our understanding is that there's a fair amount of video in the terminal area, so we'll obviously be looking for that. We'll also look for, as in all of our cases, any video that civilians may have, and that often provides very fruitful evidence for us in our investigation. So, as usual in this case, as in all of our cases, we're asking anyone who has any information to please come forward to assist us in our job.
Talk a bit about maybe even hypothetically or anecdotally, how in this case officers would have known that this suspect was potentially violent. It was described as a violent carjacking that had happened previously. So how might that force them to adjust their response in who they sent to the scene and the types of officers and response that they initiate?
Well, that's a pretty hypothetical question. We'll have to look at the exact facts of this case to determine how those principles apply here. But in any circumstance where the police have information of violence, they're obviously going to be prepared for that potential. And in this case, there were members of the emergency response team present, which obviously demonstrates that they had some concerns about that, which makes sense given the information they had. However, that's all part of our investigation at this point, and it's really difficult to answer any question until we have all the facts. And once we have all the facts, we'll let the public know our conclusions.
And do we know anything else about what the suspect may have had on him regarding possible weapons or?
Yeah, so at this point, we're not exactly certain of those details. We're looking into that. The RCMP reported that members saw what they believed to be a weapon as he exited the vehicle. That obviously is a very important part of our investigation as well. We'll determine those facts. We'll try to determine exactly what the evidence was. And from that, we will determine whether or not the actions of the police in response were appropriate or not.
And what's the timeline on that?
Well, the timeline in any investigation depends on making sure you do everything you can to get it done in as timely a manner as possible, but also in as thorough a manner as possible. Files such as this, lately we've been able to do much more timely than in the past. That's always our goal, to get it done as soon as we can, but at the same time as thoroughly as we can.
Are you aware of how many shots were deployed by the police?
Not exactly sure at this point in time. That will be determined in the next several hours, probably.
Are you able to confirm if the victim or if the deceased returned fire or actually pulled the trigger?
Right, not able to confirm that at this point in time.
Can you go over which departments were involved that you know?
Our understanding is that Nanaimo RCMP and the Island District Emergency Response Team.
So there's nothing from the Lower Mainland that you know of?
Not that we're aware of, no.
And touching on multiple jurisdictions, this was a pretty elaborate, touching on Lower Mainland and on the island. Are there going to be any updates by IIO, or typically you guys kind of do the report at the end?
So yeah, just so I explain how we report out on our cases, we generally like to have all of our facts before we report out, and that will likely be the same here. It's important in an investigation to gather all the information before you reach any conclusions. That way you don't get yourself going down one road when you shouldn't. So we'll wait till we have all the facts before we announce any of our conclusions.
Just to clarify one detail, I think you had mentioned this carjacking can happen in another part of the province. I believe at the beginning here today you said mainland, but you didn't mean Lower Mainland specifically.
I didn't mean the Lower Mainland specifically, no. I meant another part of the mainland province, yes.
So not on the island?
Our understanding is that he had gotten on the ferry at Horseshoe Bay and traveled to Departure Bay.